Hey there, it's Shauna. Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for September 2nd, 2019. This week is about determination and grace. This week we have the Sun and Mercury making several aspects to Mars, Saturn, Pluto, Jupiter. A lot going on there. And then we also have Venus making an aspect to Jupiter and Neptune. And then finally, we have the first quarter moon in Sagittarius. So as always, I'm excited to share the astrology of this week with you. And then I have 3 tips for you to make the most out of this week. So first things first, before we jump into that, we'll do a lunation report. So this will give you the emotional tone of the week and sort of how to lay out your week, the flow of your week. So we start off the week with the moon in Libra. Moon will change signs from Libra to Scorpio Monday, and then it'll be in Scorpio Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll change signs on Wednesday and then move into Sagittarius. So it'll be in Sag on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and even into Saturday. And then the sun will be in Capricorn Saturday and Sunday. So it's interesting that we have the bulk of our week really in Scorpio and Sagittarius. And this is important also because we do have that first quarter moon in Sagittarius, which I'll talk about more in a moment. But moon in Scorpio is definitely more about introspection. It's about investigating things. And it's also more about one-on-one bonding. Versus the moon in Sagittarius is more about inclusion and openness, adventure, learning new things. Sagittarius moon is more of an open kind of forward-moving kind of energy, whereas Scorpio is more internal. So I would just keep that in mind, as you're planning your activities for the week. And then this weekend, I'm really curious how we're going to feel because Capricorn is more of like a serious tone. So this weekend, I don't know, you may feel more like really getting down to business and working on some projects that you have or, getting some stuff done. Again, it's more goal-oriented. So that's your lunar report for the week. Let's jump into the transits. So I have a quote that I want to share with you. So this is for this Sun Mercury combination in Virgo. It's actually Sun, Mercury, and Mars will all be conjunct in the sign of Virgo this week. So this is from an American author, Gretchen Rubin. She says, "We can use decision-making to choose the habits we want to form. Use willpower to get the habit started, then, and this is the best part, we can allow the extraordinary power of habit to take over. At that point, we're free from the need to decide and the need to use willpower." I thought this was a really interesting quote because she's talking about using willpower so that you don't have to rely on willpower entirely. And I thought that was a really cool concept. It's not something that I've heard before. And I don't know, I just really resonate with it because I think that willpower is very important, but it's not the end-all be-all. If you follow my work, I would imagine you might feel similarly. So this relates to this transit because the sun is about willpower. Mars is about willpower. These planets are particularly focused on things that are more conscious and active within a person's psyche, within their life. So the sun is conscious ego, identity, even your personality. The sun is associated with the solar plexus chakra. It is the planet that symbolizes decisiveness and saying, this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I'm doing. It is, it's the ego, essentially. An ego in, all the variety of different ways. We can have unhealthy ego, we can have healthy ego, we can have an ego that is soft and more malleable. We can have an ego that is like too rigid, and we can have anywhere in between. Hopefully we have somewhere in the middle that feels healthy. Mercury, of course, is thought process, communication. It's your intellect. So Sun and Mercury are coming together. They'll be conjunct at 11 degrees of Virgo. So this means that they're coming together to blend meanings. So this, in psychological form, this could mean that your ego and your intellect are on the same page, that you feel clear about what it is that you want, that your thoughts are sharp. The other way of looking at this, though, is through the view of ancient astrology, where they would say Mercury is not in a great spot here because it is hidden from view. So because it's so close to the sun and the sun is bright, we cannot see Mercury in the sky right now. It's that period within Mercury's cycle with the sun. And this is also said to be the point where Mercury is at the kind of like in an underworld journey of its own, because it's like at the very darkest place that it can be because it is invisible. So the other part of this too, though, is it's in the sign of Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo, and Mercury is exalted in the sign of Virgo. So this elevates Mercury, gives it some strength, some resilience against being hidden. And this conjunction is also happening within the bound of Venus. And the bound is shows the planet that supports these planets that are making this aspect. So in this case, Venus would support the Sun and Mercury, which I would take as a positive indication because Venus is supportive, it's beneficial, it's about beauty and things that are enjoyable. So I know that's kind of like a lot to take in. I'm going to layer on a little bit more to this layer cake. We also have both Mercury and the Sun will be conjunct Mars, also in Virgo. So this is at 10 degrees of Virgo. And Mars adds this other layer of active yang kind of energy. So Mars is about action. It's about physical vitality, fighting for something, standing up for something. It's courage, but it's also fear at the same time. It's very much related to like the fight or flight or freeze part of our bodies, of our system. So this being added to the mix too, I'm like, this is really interesting. Like maybe we're thinking about something, maybe we're becoming more aware of something and we want to take action on it. Maybe there's a little bit of fear there. That could be possible as well. The Sun and Mercury will also trine Saturn. And so I see this as a supportive aspect. It's also within the bound of Jupiter, which is supportive as well. Because it's a trine, I see this being more about having a sense of determination, a sense of devotion. And then if that wasn't enough, the Sun and Mercury will also be square to Jupiter as well. So Jupiter, of course, is about expansion and growth, inclusion. It's about luck and synchronicity. So this whole cluster of planets that are coming together this week, the overall theme that I'm seeing here is all of these planets are very active. They're yang. There's certain there's a movement and a flexibility even. In ancient astrology, these would all be considered masculine planets. I know that we use that term and I use it as well. I think that it is a bit outdated, so I'm trying to use the term yang more than masculine. I hope you get the vibe of what I'm saying when I say that. But it is more of like an active kind of feel with all these planets between the Sun and Mercury and then Mars and Saturn and Jupiter. These are all very determined and active and forward moving kind of feelings. Again, Mercury and Mars are not visible, so that might, if anything, I wonder if maybe this is more like there's something that you want to discover, and there's something that you feel like you're kind of going into the shadow, or you're going into the unknown, or you're just contemplating things that are unknown. All right, that's all for that for now. The other piece of this week is Venus, also in Virgo, will square Jupiter. Jupiter is still in Sagittarius. And so I'm really digging this aspect because Venus is all about beauty and allure and our values, sensuality, all the things that we love to love. And Jupiter is about luck, synchronicity. It's also about divination. It's about inclusion. And both of these planets are benefic planets. So they're known to be auspicious, to bring good things. This combination has this kind of vibe of luck, prosperity, abundance. But also it's a square. So there might be a little bit of creative tension here. Ooh, there's a quote that I wanted to share with you for this aspect. So this is from one of my faves, Marion Woodman. She says, holding an inner or outer conflict quietly instead of attempting to resolve it quickly is a difficult idea to entertain. It is even more challenging to experience. However, as Carl Jung believed, if we held the tension between the two opposing forces, there would emerge a third way, which would unite and transcend the two. Indeed, he believed that this transcendent force was crucial to individuation. Whatever the third way is, it usually comes as a surprise, because it has not penetrated our defenses until now. A hasty move to resolve tension can abort growth of the new. If we can hold conflict in psychic utero long enough until we can give birth until something new in ourselves. And I thought that was really, beautiful for this particular aspect. Because this is happening when there's a square, it's about compromise. And this is happening, of course, in mutable signs. Mutable signs are also known as the double-bodied signs, that there's two of things, that there's a multiplicity of options. And this is very present, especially with Jupiter being in the mix, because Jupiter likes to expand the possibilities. The other part of this too is that Venus will be opposite Neptune. So this aspect also really lovely, really beautiful, and it has a problematic side as well. So Venus-Neptune is known for themes around creativity, dream, fantasy, the arts. When someone has this aspect in their birth chart, they typically have some kind of artistic innovation or artistic draw. A lot of times they're involved in literally creating art. Sometimes they just love movies. Sometimes they're actually in theater or some type of performance art as well. And this is because Neptune symbolizes being able to connect with an archetype or a symbol that is outside of the self. So people that have Venus-Neptune, they're very good at doing this. They're very good at sort of like tapping into a theme or a symbol or even just a personality that is not them and sort of like taking that on. The problematic side of this aspect, though, is that a person can get lost. They can lose their identity when they're so easily able to morph into something else. And so I share that with you. You know what your temperament is. You know what your tendency is. This combination is like super creative, highly creative, really good for any kind of meditative work, any kind of subtle energy work. anything where you really just want to like drop into the flow. So again, it could be like going on a really long run and losing yourself in the run. It could be that. It could be creating art. The problematic side, of course, could be losing yourself in a way that is numbing, like getting lost on social media, or by eating so much food or a substance, or even workaholism, I think would fall into this category as well. So, so I realize it sounds kind of like, you're like, wait, Shauna, but I thought this was like super lucky, but then you're telling me that I could, like get too lost in something. And I think that is the key to this transit, is especially Venus Jupiter shows a possibility for overdoing it, for overindulging. So I would just, like watch that this week and plan activities for yourself that really feed you and fuel you and help you feel more alive, versus checking out. And sometimes it's, it's very much just about the dosage of the thing, or how much of the thing it is that you get, So I hope that makes sense. All right. The last thing that's happening this week is the first quarter moon in the sign of Sagittarius. I have a quote for this one also. All right. This is also from Marion Woodman. Allow the body to play. Give it space. Let it make whatever movements it wants to make. Just as a dream is an invitation to the unconscious, so releasing your body into spontaneous movement or play is an invitation to the unconscious. And I thought this was great for a first quarter moon in Sagittarius, because first quarter moon is about action. It's about moving forward in the world. It can often be a decision point. And then Sagittarius is about learning by doing. It is about kind of like getting your hands dirty. I know that Sagittarius is often known to be the philosopher, and it's a sign that's known for contemplating things and absorbing ideas. At the same time, Sagittarius is really about like actually trying stuff out and seeing how things work. There's a love for novelty. There's a love for innovation. And so those are themes that may come up with this first quarter moon. And I think that there's a certain playful energy here that we could embrace. And especially so given the Venus, Jupiter, and Venus Neptune that I spoke about earlier. This first quarter moon is exact Thursday, September 5th at 8:10 p.m. Pacific time at 14 degrees of Sagittarius. And it's also within the bound of Venus. So another Venus kind of support theme here. I've noticed that's a big theme this week. So again, there might be kind of like decisions that are coming up around this first quarter moon that can sometimes be a possibility. So I would just notice where you're being called to act or to shift or to change. That leads me to the tips for this week. Tip number 1, I want you to plan a play date for yourself this week. In Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, if you're familiar with her work, she would call this an artist's state. Because we have so much energy here that is like very determined, but there's also a sense of playfulness and creativity. I want you to plan time for yourself where you can do whatever you want. It's kind of like taking yourself out on a date. In The Artist's Way, she likens this to taking your inner child out for a play date. So this can be like going window shopping or going to a cafe and getting like a sweet treat that you want or something like that, or going for a walk without having a certain plan and that walk not being about exercise or getting somewhere. I think that's the biggest thing with this is I want you to plan, even if it's just, 15 minutes, an activity for yourself that has no purpose other than your pure enjoyment. Tip number 2 is to act when you're certain and pause when you're not 100% sure. So this goes back to sort of to the first quarter moon and then also to Venus Jupiter. I think that this is good advice anytime, but especially this week because there may be room for new possibilities to come up when you do pause. So I think that it's subtle to figure out when there is a pause or when you do pause because of fear, or when you pause because of intuition, or you pause because, maybe it's like, okay, is it I'm pausing or hesitating because the timing isn't right, or is it because this isn't the right thing? And so I would say if you feel any kind of uncertainty with something, go ahead and take a pause this week. But when you feel like yes, then do it. It's definitely because we're in the waxing phase. It's good for that kind of thing to go forward when you're certain. And then to support that, tip number 3 is to use willpower wisely. So this taps into the Sun, Mercury, Mars energy. I think that, yes, pause when you don't feel 100% certain. But then at the same time, is there a point where it helps you, it benefits you to decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I find that often those are the circumstances where we're pausing because we're afraid that we'll be disappointed by the outcome, or we're afraid that we'll get rejected, or we're afraid that it won't be perfect. I think those are situations where it benefits you to use willpower, because in those situations, a lot of times you just got to go in and do it. You just got to get your hands dirty, and then that process of going in and doing it, even if it's not perfect, that builds that sense of willpower, that builds that sense of healthy ego, the healthy Sun ego, the Sun Mars energy. So again, you are the only one that knows what is best for you. These are all just suggestions, and then you can suss out what is appropriate for you based on the situation that's presenting itself to you. All right, so let's pull some tarot cards. I'm going to take a little sip of my drink. I'm drinking kombucha today because it is so freaking hot outside. It's really refreshing. All right, so as I'm shuffling these, you can choose a number between 1 and 3 to be the guidance for you for a particular situation. Or you can just let these be an overall tone for the week. I've been really enjoying hearing from some of you who like how you incorporate the cards that I pull here into your weekly ritual and routine. Because I know some of you do have a ritual of your own of pulling cards for yourself. So it's really cool to hear all the different ways that people incorporate not just the cards, but this whole forecast. So thanks for sharing with me always. I feel like doing an old school shuffle, so. All right. These are interesting. All right. As always, right? First, the Six of Swords. Reversed is how I pulled this. The Six of Cups, also reversed. And the Strength card, one of my faves. I pulled this one upright. All right, so let's talk about it. I think it's really interesting that I pulled 2 6 cards, and both of the sixes are reversed. 6 cards are, well, 6 in numerology is about harmony. It's also about karma to a certain extent, or in some philosophies it's about karma. It's about balance. It's also said to be about home and family and loved ones. I would guess that's where the karma relation comes in, because in philosophies where there is an emphasis on karma, a lot of times you have the most karma with the people who you have the strongest tie to, and many times that's family. So 6 is definitely about all of those things. It's about equanimity, etc. And then the Strength card is the number 8, which is about power and authority and strength itself. So, Six of Swords, this is about moving on from a situation. This is about moving from, like, I always love the imagery here in the Rider-Waite. So, it's a person and what looks like a child, and they're being taken away on a raft by a man, and they're moving away from this wavy water into more smooth water. So this often shows moving on, moving from sort of like either a chaotic or uncomfortable or just like agitating or even unknown kind of environment into an environment or a situation that is more calm and where there's more possibilities too. So this is the sword. So this is about intellect. It's about thought process. It's more of your mental state, the things that you're thinking about. So the fact that I pulled this reversed is interesting because it could mean that there's a resistance to moving on from something, or there's a resistance to making this change. When I pull this reverse too, when I'm looking at it, it also looks like they're moving backward. So this could also mean moving back or reflecting on the past, reflecting on things that have been challenging. And, you know, that can be, I think that, just full disclosure, I don't want that to sound like negative. Reflecting on the past can be actually very therapeutic and very helpful. It only becomes problematic when it's like a ruminating kind of thing and you're just like looping, if that makes sense. The second card is the Six of Cups. So this is a really sweet and sentimental card. This card symbolizes nostalgia, children. It symbolizes the past also, which is interesting, which could be in the past, memories that you have, things that like things from your childhood, things that bring you joy, and again, just like reflecting on the sweeter moments in life. Also, whenever I pull this card, it definitely has a theme around literal children. So that could be children in your life if you have kids, or if you don't have kids, I would take that as the creative projects that are in your life, the children that are coming out of you, you know, in a different way. So I pulled this reversed also. So this could mean also reflecting on the past, but reflecting more on the way that things were and how wonderful they were. And, you know, sometimes when it's reversed, it symbolizes looking back on the past and maybe having regrets, or maybe wishing that things are the way now that they were before. Those are all different possibilities. And then the last card is the Strength card. So this card, I think, is a little more straightforward. She's looking into the mouth of the lion, and this card symbolizes strength of the spirit, strength of the soul, and the strength of a person to be able to metaphorically look into the mouth of the lion, but not from brute force, to be able to do so from a place of authority and power in their presence, not by their actions. And so those may be themes for you to emphasize, to draw on your inner strength and resilience. This could be, because it's upright, it could be a reflective that maybe that's already happening for you. I don't know. When I'm looking at all of these together, I wonder if there is a past situation, and that could be, the more recent past. It could be past maybe a few years ago. I don't know. It could be last week. I don't know. But there's something in the past here that's coming up that maybe that is a past situation. Maybe that is themes or patterns or ways of being that you have that you've embodied in the past, and maybe there's a reflection on that this week. And maybe working through those things is bringing you into a place of strength and resilience. Or I don't know, maybe being in those situations actually brought out the strength in you. That happens a lot. So I'm curious what you think of these cards and how it resonates with you. That is your horoscope for the week. If you want to connect with me more, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube under Neo-Feminine Astrology. If you have not already, you can go to my website to download my, or to watch my new 4-part video series. It's a free series called Boundaries with Heart for Empaths. And that's something I have on my website, neofeminineastrology.com. You go there and a little thing pops up and you can sign up to get that. I'm wishing you a wonderful week, sending you lots of love, and I'll see you soon. Namaste.